Let's go ahead and get into the word. Today we're coming from Joshua chapter 22. Joshua chapter 22. Just going to look at 5 verses on today. Joshua 22, verses 1 through 5. Joshua 22, verses 1 through 5. And share this message on today. All right, verse 1, it says, Then Joshua called the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, and said unto them, Ye have kept all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, and have obeyed my voice in all that I commanded you. Ye have not left your brethren these many days unto this day, but have kept the charge of the commandment of the Lord your God. And now the Lord your God hath given rest unto your brethren, as he promised them. Therefore now return ye, and get you unto your tents, and unto the land of your possession, which Moses the servant of the Lord gave you on the other side of Jordan. But take diligent heed to do the commandment and the law, which Moses the servant of the Lord charged you, to love the Lord your God, and to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and to cleave unto him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. Amen. If you're taking notes on today, I am coming from the topic, how do you serve? How do you serve? When we go out in public and at different establishments, there are certain places we stay away from. And there are certain places that we just love to go to. It always amazes me that most of the day at one of the restaurants who are closed on Sundays, a lot of times when you go there, it seems like it's a party going on. It seems like there is always a long line at this particular establishment. You go there or you drive by, it seems like there's always a long line at this particular place. But when you look at other establishments, depending on the day, sometimes they have long lines, sometimes they do not. But when you look at the ones that are closed on Sundays, what you will see is that a lot of people patronize that establishment, one, because it's good fast food, but also number two is that they provide great service. They really provide great service when they are servicing their customers. So therefore, a lot of people will want to go to that particular restaurant instead of others, because they know that in the end they're going to get top-notch service. They are built on service, built on serving others. And you can see it, and you can also feel it when you attend that establishment. Serving Grace Center is something that God has commanded all of us to do. He has commanded all of us to do that. So for the next 3 moments that we have together, we're going to look at how do you serve. All right, how do you serve? Let's take a look here. What we see here in the text is that Joshua, he called these 3 tribes together, okay? And he's about to send them back home. All right, these 3 tribes, the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half of the tribe of Manasseh. He called them all together, and he's about to send them home after they served with him during the war. But before he sends them home, he begins to talk to them about how they served. Okay? So the war is over. He calls these 3 tribes together. He's about to send them home. But before he does that, he wants to have a discussion about how they served. Let's look at verse number 2 again. And said unto them, Ye have kept all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, and have obeyed my voice in all that I commanded you. So here in the text, Joshua, he goes into his memory bank and he starts to talk about Moses. He begins to talk about Moses. Now, I never like to assume everyone that tunes in and that watches, they know the things that seasoned and more mature Christians know. So some people may have heard of Moses, but they may not know the full story of Moses. Well, let me just give you the Cliff Notes version of who Moses is, especially for those who are not mature and know the things that we as mature believers know. All right. Moses, Grace Center, he was a Hebrew, but he was raised as an Egyptian. The reason that he was raised as an Egyptian is because during the time that Pharaoh was ruling the area, Pharaoh put out a decree to kill the male newborns. Pharaoh's kingdom was in threat. He was threatened by others taking over his kingdom. So he said, you know what? This kingdom is mine, and I don't want anyone coming at my throne. So he put out a decree to kill all of the newborn males and to throw them into the Nile River. Well, the mother of Moses, she came up with this clever idea to place baby Moses into this basket which was made for him. And she placed this basket on the Nile River, and Moses' sister, Miriam, she followed the basket as it was going down this river. As the river made its way down, as the basket made its way down this river, it made it to Pharaoh's daughter. Okay, stick with me. When it made its way to Pharaoh's daughter, they saw that a baby, which was Moses, was in the basket. At this time, she needed someone to take care of this baby. Miriam, the sister of Moses, spoke up and said, I know just the person who can take care of this baby. In other words, Miriam, the sister of Moses, she spoke up and told Pharaoh's daughter that she knows just the person that could care and take care of this baby, which it was going to be Moses' mother. Long story short, Moses' mother took care of Moses, but Moses was raised as an Egyptian, but he was a Hebrew. As time goes on, Grace Center, as Moses is out and about, he sees one of his fellow Hebrews. He's getting beat up. As Moses sees this happening, he decides to take action. The word says that he began to look around to see who was in the area, because he didn't like the fact that one of his fellow Hebrews was being beaten. So he went and he killed one of the Egyptians. When he killed one of the Egyptians, other people saw what took place. Being that they saw what took place, Moses had to flee. He had to leave because he knew that word was going to get back to Pharaoh, and he was going to have a target on his back. So Moses fled, and he got away from the area in which he was at. As he leaves that area, and while he was MIA, as he was undercover, God spoke to Moses. God found Moses. God gave Moses a set of instructions on how he can go back and flee and have his people to flee the hands and the bondage of Pharaoh. Okay? God gave him the instructions, said, Moses, this is what I want you to do. Moses was even hesitant about taking on this assignment, but yet God gave him the commandment and told him exactly what he needed to do to have his people be rescued at the hands of Pharaoh. Now, the question might be this: why would Joshua talk about Moses when he's talking to his soldiers who just served with him at war? Why would Joshua go into his memory bank and talk about Moses, the one who had fled Egypt to get away from what took place, and he had a target on his back? Why would Joshua bring up the name of Moses? Why would he do that? Well, Joshua brought up Moses' name because he wanted to point out the fact that Moses served. Moses served. Moses served the Lord, and Joshua wanted to show them that the person that was before him, his mentor, okay, how he served the Lord. Because his whole message is about serving. So Joshua is telling them about Moses and how he served, but he's trying to teach them and give them a lesson on serving. And it's right there in verse number 2. Watch this. Verse 2. And said unto them, ye have kept all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you. All right. So Joshua points to the fact that Moses was a servant to God. He wasn't there to please men. He wasn't there for a title, but he was there to serve God. But not only that, but after Joshua talks about them doing what Moses asked of them, then Joshua says, but you have done the things that I have asked you to do as well. All right. In other words, Moses was a servant of God, but eventually he died. And when he died, I have no doubt, Grace Center, that when Moses died, that when he saw the face of God, I have no doubt that God said, well done, my good and faithful servant. I have no doubt about that. All right. But also, what happened when Moses died? Who was next in line when Moses died? You guessed it, my main man Josh. Joshua was next in line. Okay, he was next in line for elevation. Joshua, he served Moses faithfully. And by him serving Moses faithfully, when Moses died, Joshua was promoted. Now watch it right here. Let me let you in on a little secret. Joshua never asked for promotion. Stick with me. Joshua never asked for a promotion. No. When you read Joshua chapter 1, it talks about that when Moses died, God calls Joshua and gives him his assignment. You see, when you serve Grace Center, it positions you for promotion. You don't have to suck up to anyone. You don't always have to be in someone's face. You don't have to wash anyone's car. You don't have to bring anyone coffee. when you're trying to get elevated to the next level. The only thing you have to do is just serve, and serve faithfully. And if you serve faithfully, God is the one that's going to do the elevation. God is the one that's going to do the promotions when you serve. Now, let me say this as well. You can't fool God. Okay, God is not someone that you can fool. So you can't say, well, I'm just going to serve so I can get a promotion. And, you can't just do that, because God looks at the heart of a person. He looks at the motives of a person. So he knows what you're trying to do. So you don't just set out just to simply serve, just to get ahead and have bad motives. But if you serve faithfully, part of the package, part of the benefit, if you have the right motives in place, is that God will eventually promote you. He will eventually take you from level to level. Now, some may say, well, Pastor, what if I don't have the heart to serve? What do I do, a person in my position, if I don't have the heart to serve? And with certain people, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. You want to serve, but your heart is not there. Well, that's when you have a little talk with Jesus. You ask God to help you in that area, to help your heart get to a place where you want to serve, or when you want to give back. You ask God for different ways to help you and to show you and to groom you in that area of serving. But watch this. Let's continue to look at this here. Joshua is still speaking to the 3 tribes, but let's look at what takes place in verse number 4. Verse 4, it says, "And now the Lord your God hath given rest unto your brethren, as he promised them. Therefore now return ye and get you unto your tents, and unto the land of your possession, which Moses the servant of the Lord gave you on the other side of Jordan." So Joshua is sending everyone home. The war is over, and they're victorious. Okay, stick with me. Joshua is sending all of the soldiers home. It's the end of the war. They won the war. They're victorious. And he lets them know that everything that God promised them has come to pass, and the brethren are also enjoying their time of rest. So he tells them, now it's time for you to also rest. But watch this. They can rest now because the war is over. But here's the thing. This war lasted for 7 years. Okay. Well, this war that they were in, it lasted for 7 years. In other words, these men, they served Joshua faithfully for 7 years. The war lasted 7 years. Joshua is now sending them home. They won the war. They're victorious. Joshua is giving them this speech about serving. But this was 7 years. This was a long time. But they served Joshua faithfully. These men were away from their families and loved ones, but they still gave it all they had when it came to serving. But after the war was over, Joshua was like, okay, fellas, you have been faithful, but now it's time for you to go home. Now your time of serving, your season of serving is now over, and it's time for you to go home. Oh, Grayson, don't miss that. You see, there will be seasons in our lives where your serving period is over. There will be times when God is like, okay, now this assignment for you is over. Okay, it's now time for you to take on this assignment. It's time for you to now do this and serve in this area. Okay? Because although your time may be up serving in one area, there are still many other areas in which God wants you to serve. Because God does not want you to give up serving entirely. It just may be that one particular area, that one organization, God is saying, okay, now your time is up. The season is up. It's now time for you to move on. It's now time for you to pack your bag, clean off your desk, and move to a different area, different organization of serving, because this season is now over. Okay? But let's continue to read this now. Verse number 5. Okay? Because they have other things that they must have to do. Verse number 5. It says, but take diligent heed to do the commandment and the law which Moses the servant of the Lord charged you, to love the Lord your God, and to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and to cleave unto him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. So Joshua tells them, he says, don't forget what you're supposed to do. Don't forget about the commandment and the law. And who charged them to keep the commandment and the law? It was Moses, the servant of the Lord. But do you know the most interesting part here is that Joshua is the one doing the talking, and Joshua is the one that says that Moses was a servant of the Lord. You see, as Christians, we don't do things to be recognized. Okay? We don't do things just to be seen. There is something to be said when another person recognizes how you served others and how you gave back to other individuals. Joshua said, you have kept the commandments and the law which Moses, the servant, charged you. Okay? Joshua is the one telling them that Moses was a servant. Moses is gone. Moses is dead. So Moses is not talking. But Joshua recognized that when Moses was on the scene, Moses was a servant. Moses served. You see, others can see those who serve and those who don't serve. And even if you're serving, you're not serving just to be seen. Okay? We're not trying to be put up on a pedestal when you serve. But other people will recognize the fact of you are serving and you're doing it faithfully. Okay? You're doing it faithfully. And what did Moses of the servant charge them to do? If Moses was a servant, okay, and if Joshua is telling them that his soldiers, his men, they kept the commandment of Moses, what were the commandments that Moses gave to them? Well, this is in verse number 5 what he charged them to do. Okay, the first thing he charged them to do was to love the Lord. That was the first thing, was to love the Lord. You see, something happens when you love the Lord. When you love the Lord, you try your best to do what is right. You won't always get it right, but you try your best. When you love the Lord, you pray for your enemies. It may be difficult, but you pray for your enemies. When you love the Lord, you extend a helping hand to your brother or your sister in need. But you know something else happens when you love the Lord? You tell everybody about him. When you love the Lord, you tell others about the goodness of the Lord. If somebody asks you about him, it just puts a smile on your face. So if you're having a conversation about him and you're having a conversation with someone, you can't wait, and you love those conversations when you're talking about him. I know sometimes, when my wife or daughter, when we're having discussions about theology, about different things, and we're talking, sometimes I just go down this little rabbit hole and I begin to talk and talk and talk. And my daughter sometimes, she's like, okay, Dad. She gets real quiet because I just begin to talk and talk and talk. And she wants me to shut up a lot of times. But it's just the fact that when you love the Lord and when you're having a conversation about different things about the Lord, you're like the Energizer Bunny. You just go on and on and on and on. But that's what happens when you love the Lord. All right? But not only that, when you talk about him, you also love to be in his presence as well. You love to be in his presence. It's like when you first start dating someone, like the early stages of dating, it's that puppy love that we call it. When you're on the phone and for hours and no one is saying anything at all. You can just hear the other person breathing. You're on the phone, you're like, you there? I'm like, yeah, I'm still here, babe. I'm still here. You sure you're there? Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. Okay. It's like no one is talking, but you just want to be on the phone with them. You do not want to hang up the phone because you have that puppy love. I think there was an R&B song back in the day. But you have that puppy love for that individual, and you do not want to get out of their presence. Okay, you just want to be in their presence. As a matter of fact, even when you hang up the phone, you cannot wait until you can see that person in person. You cannot wait to hug that person and see them face to face. It's something about being in the presence of someone that you love. It's something about being there with them, talking with them, having a conversation with them, and that's what happens when you love the Lord. Joshua said that you love the Lord, your God, okay? If you love him and do what he says, another thing you must do is to walk in all his ways and keep his commandments, okay? Walk in all his ways, not just some of his ways, but in all his ways, okay? And I know what everybody else is doing, but we need to walk in his ways. I know what society may be saying, but as believers, we must walk in his ways. Despite the different laws that the government can pass, we as Christians must still walk in all his ways. Now watch this. When you walk, it means that you're moving. All right? When you're walking in the ways of the Lord, it means that you are actually moving. And if you're walking with God, that means that you're on the right track. But if you're not walking with God, who knows what your final destination is going to be? But if you're walking with the Lord and you're keeping his commandments and trying to do the things that are pleasing in his sight, that's what pleases the Lord. That's what we all as believers must do. But if you're not walking with God, where are you going? What's going to be the final destination? Because the final destination is going to be a place that you do not want to end up being at. The body of Christ needs to walk in the ways of the Lord at all times. But Joshua is not done. He says to walk in all his ways and to keep them. Okay, and to keep them. All right. He then says in verse number 5, watch this now, I'm almost done. He says, and to cleave unto him. To cleave unto him. To cleave, it means to stick. It means to cling to or to stay close. To cleave, okay, to stick to cling, to stay close. It's the same word we find in Genesis 2:24 where it says, Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave, okay, unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So the same word that's used in Genesis is the same word used here in Joshua. And Joshua is telling his men to cling to God, to stick to God, to stay close to God. And do you know what happens when you stick to God? Watch this. Here's a spoiler alert. This is what happens when you stick to God. You can't go wrong. That's what happens when you stick with God. All right, sticking to God, following God, staying close to God is a sure way that you can always remain on the winning side. Now, the last part of verse number 5, in the King James Version, it says, and to serve him, okay, with all your heart and with all your soul. All right, so Joshua is telling the men, he tells the men to love God, walk in all his ways, keep his commandments, cleave to him, but to also serve him. Grace Center, our main goal should be serving God. Joshua says that all the other stuff that I told you about, there's something else that you must do, and that is serving God. But don't just serve him with all of your heart and with all of your soul. In other words, give it everything you got. In other words, do not shortchange him. Do not take any short corners. Do not cut corners. But it's a time when you give it all you have when you serve the Lord. It's like there are a lot of, in sports, you have stars and you have superstars. Okay? In the sports area, you have stars and you have superstars. You have superstars like a Jerry Rice or a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant. Okay? Those are superstars. But what separates them from just the average, ordinary player, and even just the stars? What separates the superstars from the stars? It is that the superstars, they give it all they got. They put in the work. They give it all they have. You know, when you look at Jerry Rice, there are stories about Jerry Rice that when they used to practice, when he catches the football in practice, he will run all the way down to the touchdown zone. Okay, in practice, every time. In practice. Okay, he would give it all that he has. There are talks about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant on how when they'll be the first ones to show up at practice. Before anybody else gets there, they're at the gym. They already got their workout in. They rise up early. They're giving it everything that they have. Okay? And that's what separated them from others. It's the reason why Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time, because he puts in the work. Okay? It's a separating factor. When you give something all that you have. When we serve the Lord, we must give it everything that we have. And if a basketball player can give it all that they can give it on a basketball court, or a baseball player on the diamond field, or a football player on the field, if they can give it all that they've got to give, why can't we as Christians give it all that we can for the kingdom? Joshua told his men that the war is now over. The war is over. But these are some things I still want you to do. Love God. Walk in his ways. Keep his commandments. Cleave or stick to him. And oh yeah, before I forget, make sure that you serve him. Don't forget about serving him. And I'm closing now. But just as Joshua closed out his message with his men when the war was over, telling them how they should serve and what they should do. Let me close out this message by giving you the same instructions on today about how to serve. This is how you do it. Love God. Walk in his ways. Keep his commandments. Cleave or stick to him and simply serve him. But don't just serve him with all of your heart. Serve him with everything you have. And if the nation, okay, can come together and can get to serving him, what a difference that would make. What a difference that would make. Oh, saints of the Most High God, with all these recent events that are taking place, with everything that's going on, this pandemic and just all this craziness and nonsense and shootings and all of these things that are happening, what would happen if we all get back to serving the Lord? What will take place if we all just come together on one accord and get back to serving the Lord? What's going to happen in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our schools, in this world, if we all just simply get back to serving the Lord? It will be a drastic change. It will be completely different from the things that we see now, the things that we know now. But we all must get back to serving the Lord. And for those who never served God, it's now time for you to start serving him. And just like Joshua said here, the ways to serve him is to love God, walk in his ways, keep his commandments, and make sure you cling or you stick to him. If you do those things, that's how you serve him. And that's how you serve. That's how you get ahead. And we don't serve to get promotions, but we serve because it's our obligation to be faithful toward the Lord. And if we serve faithfully, a benefit of serving is elevation and promotion. And promotions don't come from the east or the west, but promotion, it comes from the Lord. And that's how you serve.